A three-state sweep by the DEA leads to the arrest of 51 people with ties to a Mexican drug cartel.
The Bluegrass State is known for bourbon, horse racing, and quiet Appalachian towns. But beneath its rolling hills lies a story few imagined. In the summer of 2025, federal agents struck at the very heart of a criminal empire. 51 suspected cartel members taken down, a stockpile of 133 firearms seized, and enough meth, cocaine, and fentanyl to devastate entire communities. This wasn't a border raid or a city bust. It was Kentucky, a state now revealed as a front line in America's hidden drug war. Tonight, we uncover how international cartels tightened their grip on the heartland, and how close they've come to home. Kentucky's rolling hills have seen storms before, but none like this. In the waning days of summer 2025, the state's calm image, coal mines, bourbon barrels, and horse country, was pierced by a revelation few expected. Over just a handful of days, federal agents dismantled a network that stretched far beyond back roads and small towns. This wasn't coincidence or chance. It was a precision strike against one of the most powerful criminal syndicates in the world, the Sinaloa Cartel. The scale alone was staggering. 51 people in custody, 133 weapons seized. These weren't family rifles or forgotten pistols, but an arsenal, military-style rifles, handguns, and firepower designed to intimidate, dominate, and kill. In a place better known for tobacco fields and bluegrass festivals, authorities uncovered the kind of weapon cache you'd expect in a battlefield, not a rural county. It was a jarring reminder. This fight is not just about drugs. It is about control, violence, and fear. Then came the drugs. Agents pulled nearly 9,000 counterfeit pills from hiding places, identical in appearance to prescriptions in any medicine cabinet. Yet behind their harmless exterior lay fentanyl, a synthetic killer so concentrated that one pill can silence a heartbeat in minutes. Alongside them, more than 50 kilograms of methamphetamine, cocaine, and raw fentanyl surfaced. At today's potency, meth often tests above 95% purity, sharper and deadlier than anything seen before. Marijuana strains, too, have been bred to extremes, carrying a potency unimaginable a generation ago. Together, the haul represented enough poison to devastate entire communities, enough to write thousands of obituaries. The raid also yielded $78,000 in bundled cash, neatly stacked bills, blood currency in its most literal sense. Each dollar a transaction in misery, every bundle tied to another family's loss, another town pushed closer to collapse. But the most haunting truth was not the seizures themselves, it was what they revealed. This wasn't a case of small-time hustlers scraping by. This was infrastructure, a supply chain feeding America's drug epidemic, stitched directly to the heart of the Sinaloa Cartel. Once believed to operate far from Kentucky's quiet valleys, their influence proved far more insidious. Hidden in plain sight, the cartel had embedded itself into the very fabric of small-town America. The arrests marked a decisive strike, but also left a chilling question hanging in the air. If this network ran this deep in Kentucky, how many more remain undiscovered? And just how far does the cartel's reach truly extend into the American heartland? When most people picture international drug cartels, Kentucky is not the first place that comes to mind. It isn't a border state. It isn't a sprawling metropolis. It's the Bluegrass State, home to thoroughbreds, bourbon, bluegrass music, and postcard views of rolling farmland. Yet beneath that image of tradition and charm lies a stark reality. Cartels don't choose their battlegrounds by chance. They choose by vulnerability. And Kentucky, battered by a relentless opioid crisis, became the perfect target. The numbers reveal the depth of the wound. In 2022, overdoses claimed 2,135 Kentuckians. The following year, nearly 2,000 more families buried loved ones. By 2024, another 1,410 lives were gone. Behind every statistic is a shattered family, a bedroom left empty, a dinner table with one less chair. For cartel strategists, These weren't tragedies to mourn. They were opportunities. They saw not heartbreak, but profit. Pain became a commodity, and Kentucky was a market ready to be exploited. That's the cold calculus. Where there is despair, there is demand. And for cartels like Sinaloa, each overdose was not a failure of business, but an acceptable cost. Every addict meant revenue, every grieving town another foothold. Kentucky wasn't just a rural state, it was an untapped consumer base hidden in the folds of America's heartland, and the reach extended further. Tennessee and West Virginia, once dismissed as quiet flyover country, now stand at the epicenter of this hidden war. These regions, already struggling with poverty and limited health care, became breeding grounds for cartel expansion. Families trying to fight through job loss and economic collapse found themselves surrounded by counterfeit pills and high-purity meth. Addiction spread like wildfire, and cartels ensured the flames never went out. The strategy was deliberate. Stay away from heavily guarded borders. Avoid the spotlight of major coastal cities. Instead, burrow into small towns where police departments are underfunded, treatment centers are few, and stigma keeps many from seeking help. A quiet invasion, subtle enough to be overlooked until the damage became undeniable. By the time raids like the one in Kentucky brought it into view, the roots were already deep. And that is why Kentucky matters. It is more than a single state caught in a drug. War, it is a mirror held up to the nation. It shows how easily any community, no matter how rural or seemingly insulated, can become a battleground when despair is weaponized. The real question is no longer why cartels chose Kentucky. It is whether America is prepared to accept that no town, no county, no quiet valley is beyond their reach. The grip of the cartels on America's heartland is not loose, not distant. It is suffocating. Special Agent Jim Scott's words cut through any illusion. 95% of the narcotics flooding Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia trace back to just two criminal empires, the Sinaloa Cartel and the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. That statistic alone reveals the scale of domination. Two organizations, operating thousands of miles away, have managed to infiltrate small towns and rural counties, bending them into vital outposts of an international machine. But these cartels are not mere traffickers. They are sprawling, multinational conglomerates of crime. Their activities stretch far beyond smuggling narcotics. They move weapons across borders, launder billions through intricate financial webs, exploit human beings in smuggling networks, and carve profits from every dark corner of desperation. The stores would process fraudulent transactions utilizing fake identifications in which these drug proceeds were laundered back to Mexico. Their enterprise reaches into extortion, resource theft, prostitution rings, and even illegal wildlife trade. And yet, for all their global reach, their most lucrative markets remain in American communities like Louisville, Lexington, and Charleston, cities never designed to withstand such relentless pressure. What makes this grip even deadlier is the transformation of the drugs themselves. Methamphetamine, once cut and diluted, now often reaches purity levels of 95% or higher. Marijuana, once considered mild, is engineered to carry potency far beyond anything seen in decades past. And then there are the counterfeit pills, tablets designed to look exactly like legitimate prescriptions, indistinguishable from Adderall, Percocet, or Xanax. To the eye, they are harmless. To the body, they are lethal. A fraction too much fentanyl is hidden inside, and the experiment becomes a fatal mistake. For young people, curiosity has turned into Russian roulette. A single pill at a party, purchased online or handed over by a friend, can end a life before help arrives. There is no margin for error, no time for second chances. The cartels know this. In fact, they count on it. Addiction isn't just tolerated, it is cultivated. Purity is pushed higher, potency engineered sharper, because dependence means profit. Every overdose isn't a failure in their business model. It's collateral, absorbed and replaced by the next vulnerable soul. This is the cartel's grip, a reach that stretches across oceans, but tightens hardest in small towns where families bury children, hospitals overflow, and law enforcement fights a battle that feels endless. And yet, to ignore the scale is to surrender. Because the truth is as stark as it is terrifying, this is no longer someone else's problem. It's America's shadow war, and the front lines run straight through its heartland. The Kentucky bust was never just about seizing drugs or stacking weapons on a table for the cameras. It tore back the curtain on a darker reality. Cartels are no longer distant threats at the border. They have quietly taken root in the American interior, embedding themselves in towns where surveillance is limited, resources scarce, and addiction already runs deep. This is not chance. It is strategy. By choosing overlooked places, they exploit despair and bet that no one will notice until it is too late. For communities already suffocating under poverty, shuttered factories, and vanishing healthcare, the cartel's presence feels crushing. In counties where hospitals have closed and police forces are stretched to the brink, the arrival of fentanyl or meth is not simply a law enforcement issue, it is a daily assault on survival. Families grieve in silence. Local leaders plead for answers. The cycle of addiction spins faster, convincing many that resistance is hopeless. But this operation delivered a different message. Across 3 states, federal, state, and local agencies moved as one, executing a strike that reverberated far beyond Kentucky's hills. It wasn't a symbolic show of power. It was proof that unity works. From rural sheriffs navigating winding back roads to federal prosecutors building airtight cases, every piece mattered. Together, they sent a signal that no town is too small, no community too forgotten to fight back. Special Agent Jim Scott's words cut to the core. The cartel's reach is vast, but so is the reach of the law. Their networks may appear limitless, but they are not untouchable. With coordination and persistence, even the strongest chains can be broken. Still, no one is under the illusion that this battle is finished. The cartels will adapt. They always do. New smuggling corridors will open, synthetic drugs will evolve, and networks will be rebuilt. Yet this case marked something more enduring than a single victory. It planted a marker in the heartland. It told Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia that they are not abandoned, that their struggles matter. For small towns overshadowed by cartel power, this raid carried a promise. You are not powerless. You are not alone. The war is far from over, but every life saved, every weapon seized, every chain broken, brings America one step closer to reclaiming its streets. What unfolded in Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia was more than a law enforcement victory. It was a glimpse into a hidden battlefield inside America itself. Families may sleep easier tonight, but the cartels aren't retreating. They're recalculating. New routes, stronger drugs, smarter tactics. It's all coming. The question is whether we'll be ready when the next wave crashes in. Because this war isn't fought in some distant land. It's happening on our streets, in our neighborhoods, maybe closer than you think. Stay alert, stay informed, and if you want to follow this story as it unfolds, hit the like button, subscribe, and don't look away.